creative nothingness.
My name is Christopher Albright. This is Panel by Panel, a show in which we read your favorite comic books. And today with me, we have the creator of Haven, Mr. Brayden Viloria. How are you doing today, Brayden?
Good. All right. How are you doing, man? I love that. Wonderful. I love that intro. That intro's tight.
I appreciate you. That was a fun one to make. But today we're going to talk about Haven. Haven is the very first book that you've ever put out. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. 100%.
And when it comes to that book, what made you want to do a superhero book exactly?
That's a good, because I didn't super grow up doing the whole superhero comics thing or anything like that. What got me into it was after my uncle passed from cancer and stuff like that. I wanted to feature him in a comic. I kind of delved back into comics, and I kind of took my hand up at writing. He was a cop, so I wanted to make him a detective, and I didn't want it to be this kind of purely noir, mystery comic or whatever. And I kind of waded back into heroes, and I wanted to do a cool spin on it. And it's kind of how Haven started to take shape.
So when it comes to Haven itself, a lot of this that we're going to talk about is kind of like a serum, like a super serum that creates heroes. Is that right?
Yeah. So there is this serum in the universe. My heroes are called enhanced. It's kind of like I say mutants from X-Men, where it's kind of like human evolution mutations that grant you these abilities. And Haven issue 1 is the first issue, and kind of where I introduced this serum that amplifies someone's ability to a next stage, you could say.
Amplifies the ability. Are we suggesting that people themselves have abilities without the serum, or just simply their strength? What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So how enhanced work and stuff like that is that you have this gene, right? And I haven't fully delved into the comics, so but with this gene, yeah, it lays dormant, right? So there are some people that definitely don't have abilities, you know what I mean? It's not everybody, but for the ones that do, this serum could be a way to activate an already dormant gene.
Interesting. All right, are you ready to go ahead and start opening this up and looking at it?
Yeah, 100%.
Let's go ahead, buddy. Now, this is one of my favorite covers I've seen on the indie comic scene. When I first saw it, I immediately kind of said, oh, I know what this is about. I don't really have to ask any questions. How much input did you have on the cover itself?
Yeah, so the cover was the last thing we did, actually. So I had the artist Leonardo Uden do the pages first, and then I kind of really let him go with it. I kind of said that I wanted the detective and Haven in it kind of together. But I was just I really want something kind of forward facing and kind of cool, and he shot over some concepts, and this is kind of one of them that we landed on. Was this kind of, and I thought it was super fun, right? I thought it's because I think with superhero comics, you get a lot of spandex and you get a lot of posing, you know what I mean? And there's the villain and stuff, right? And I thought if we're gonna go different with this, if this is gonna be something that these aren't I don't want to say normal superheroes, but this is my take on it, right? I like to say it's a Rook City take on superheroes, and I just wanted to do that.
Okay. Rook City being the what do you call it, an expanded universe for all your characters?
Yeah, so a lot of people do a universe of heroes in a world, and it's really large and big. And really what I wanted to do with Haven and Sketch Night is set it in a city. So Rook City is where the book takes place, where and I'm just building up this city of heroes and villains, and kind of I like to say a beginning to end story kind of like this moment or this evolution or this era of what happened in the city at the time.
Let's see what we have next. We have a credits page. The page itself, anything to say about the credits page? Is it just good art? Like, what made you decide for this?
Mm. Yeah, this we kind of wanted to play into the hero villain thing. You know what I mean? And when as soon as you flip the cover, have this kind of thing where it's like, boom, right? You don't know exactly what it is, but you know that there's some action, there's some tension there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. I flipped through one of them before, and the guy stopped me and said, "No, we got to go back because there's details here." I said, "Oh, let me just ask every time then." Now this is our very first page. This is the one that's supposed to hook you, and I believe you immediately just swing with action. What's happening?
Yeah. So I wanted to set this. I didn't want an origin story. I didn't want any of that. I wanted to throw the audience into the action right off the bat, or like almost midway into something, right? And so I did this fight scene with the hero Haven and Inferno. They're fighting in the street. And he's in kind of the text and stuff too. He's recounting it, right? So like immediately the audience isn't in the know of like who is that purple text box, you know what I mean? Why is there like quotations right on the thing? Like what is going on? Is this what we're seeing right now and this is happening or not? And so yeah, and so this is kind of how it opens for sure.
So when, like you said, I don't know who is saying the text box just yet. The cover and the back cover help me kind of understand that the man being burned here is clearly our hero, right? Our main character. I love also being able to start with the action because sometimes in indie comics it takes forever to get to the action, and by the time you do, the comic's over. So let's see what else happens with the next panel of action. Tell me more.
Yeah, 100%. So this second page is super cool because I hit you right with the action, and then the second page, I wanted to kind of have it be, a bit of a stop and a bit of a, like what is going on, right? Like fill in the audience a bit, and that text box in the beginning says, it's what he said next that really scared me, and to kind of paraphrase, Haven's like, hey, you're gonna get people hurt. Let's stop this. Inferno though goes on kind of his diatribe, right? Of he is kind of like the benchmark of who is a hero, and he's willing to like put to the test anyone who would call themselves hero, right? Saying that like the greatest equalizer is fear, and he's pretty much he's a villain, but he has that kind of ideology of okay, we live in this society, heroes are popping up, you don't just get to call yourself a hero. That's not just a title that you get to bestow upon yourself, right? And he's like, if you really want to save people, I'm gonna be the antagonist. I'm gonna be the benchmark of you're gonna call yourself that, you're gonna save people, you gotta meet that, right?
So that's good. It reminds me of the My Hero Academia character. I can't remember the name of him right now, but also Sting, where it was like, we're gonna fight the heroes because you need to be a hero. I get that.
Yeah.
Also, on talking about benchmarks, one thing I find interesting about superhero books is the power level benchmark and deciding, can I topple a building with one punch, but I can't take a heat blast? How much do you think about power level when you're doing these fights?
When I do these fights, power level definitely is important, right? And I always like to say, like, when you let the cat out of the box, right? I think that's how that goes.
That's absolutely wrong, but keep going.
Okay. When you let out too much, right? You can't put that back, right?
Yes.
And so when I first start with an issue 1 or something like that, I like to keep the action fun, action packed, but grounded in a way where city blocks aren't getting destroyed, right? Because I think in a series you really got to ramp up to those moments, and at the same time the beginning parts where things are kind of like under leveled, you really get to play around with choreography. You get to play around with with thoughts, feelings, emotions in a fight, which I think I'll add.
Okay, fair answer. And we're gonna move forward. This is a great scene just by itself. This is a wonderful little mini splash.
Yes.
But I assume he's won the fight, but not really. What happened
Yes.
here?
Yeah. 100%. So so if I'm gonna throw you in the middle of the action, I want to be able to say things about the characters, right? So Haven was very focused on stopping the fight, right? And to the point of he in the last page, one of the texts when Inferno did the blast was I didn't notice it yet, but the attack, or I think even there, he goes, but I didn't know was the attack, and then the other text box wasn't meant for me. So in the last page there was a blast, and then this we see that Haven has subdued right Inferno, but in the instance by either not taking him out quick enough or not paying enough attention, the apartment complex explodes.
And again, I want to point out this is just a great piece of art itself, because without those text box and without the context around it, you have no idea. It just looks like, oh, this is a cool hero, and it just plays as like a cool promotional piece later on. We're going to move forward because now we're jumping. How far ahead is this in time?
This is like that night.
Okay, same night.
So yeah, so the way I frame it is like this fight, and then the aftermath goes on, and then Haven is taken in for questioning. This was really important, and I really love how this shot is framed, because we go from like kind of pulpy action, right, to kind of like this darker tone, right, of everything going on. And I wanted that to be important because this is the first time you see the detective and his ideology, right? So what I wanted was for this to be where the detective gets to, someone that doesn't have powers, right, kind of be the what is it, like the sit-in, right, or the eyes of the audience, right? Here's someone that isn't powered, that isn't enhanced, doesn't do this, and he's almost talking down to this hero, right? Which I think is just an interesting dynamic.
I want to point out the talking down because that's one of the key things in directing and filming, is that you would make a character taller than the character being talked down to. And in each one of these shots, including the inlet parts, the detective, is taller than what's our main character's name? Haven.
Haven, yeah.
Taller than Haven every single time.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's cool, right? Because it's kind of like that juxtaposition of this hero, super strength, right, takes down the villain, but in this instance is really taking down a peg. And the dialogue in this scene is super cool, super important too. It talks about humanity, or Humans for Humanity leader died in that apartment complex in the burst, which is kind of like my like anti-enhanced, pro-human group, but then also kind of plays on the part of the one of the first things kind of in that little box there where it says, did you hold back, right, in that fight, right, like did you hold back? And then he goes, now us normal people are left to wade in the consequences of your actions, and then so you can sleep easier at night, is how the page ends. And I really wanted to hit that early because I wanted to be this thing of, usually with superheroes, it is a advantageous thing or a virtuous thing shown in superhero media, where it's like, oh, I held back, I pulled my punches, right? You got your Spider-Man, your Superman, your everything. But I wanted to play with that idea and be like, hey, there are consequences that people that don't have abilities have to deal with now because you did hold back.
That's really good. Real quick, going back to the director style and how the art works, how much of that do you put in your script when you are writing these scenes?
Yeah. So what I lose script. I know a lot of comic creators that kind of go panel by panel. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I like to do with my artists is I will go and I will lay out the action on a page. I will say if I would like this page to have more panels or less panels. and I'll say kind of like what to focus on, or who should kind of be the star of the page. If we can kind of add either like a really a camera, you said direct, like a camera POV, right, of kind of where I wanted to go. But then past that, I let them lay it out, because I feel like what you give an artist, everything that goes into the comic creation process. So if you give them direction, it automatically eliminates anything else that they would have done because they're following that direction. So I like to give them a lot of freedom, while still having it be very how I wanted the shot to be made.
A lot of people I've talked to are always just let the artist go, right? Like, not the less that you make them have to follow, and the more they want to do is always fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
We're moving outside now. So, question here, because I don't know if it's exactly clear through the text. I didn't get to read it. Haven and the detective, are they friends? Are they friendly? What's happening here? Is he arrested?
So Haven was taken in for questioning, given the Inferno Haven incident. You know, I want it to be this thing of, I like when you go through the superhero fight, that cool kind of like intense action moment. I wanted to drag it back down to, here are the realities, here are the real people now dealing with everything. And so the detective and Haven, they're not enemies or not friends in the way of I guess ideologically opposed, but the detective definitely does have different views, and he has to kind of deal with everything that has been brought now in this page here. In the last page, it talked about Humans for Humanity leader dying and a bunch of pissed off protesters. And now, I show you here are the pissed off protesters. But even Haven, right? That question you just brought up, Haven's like, hey, I'm not too popular around here, am I? And the detective goes, on the contrary, right? Like, everyone here is foregoing their friends and family, risking their lives to protect you and Inferno, right?
Yeah.
Because with these enhanced are so hated, and it is such a thing of like this kind of powder keg, right? That has kind of burst, that has kind of been building, and we come in at the burst, and these protesters would kind of go in there, and tear them out, right, and mob justice it if the police weren't there to protect them, which is cool because you're seeing this side of, we always see like heroes protecting, like, right, people without power, stuff like that, and in this instance it has to be the people in blue protecting the hero and the villain, actually.
Yeah, this plays a lot with real history. These are the types of things that we've actually seen happen in the past, with segregation and trying to bring kids into school. Like, they're trying to control these situations. I get that. I want to ask real quick because I believe it's an Easter egg at the very bottom. Is that man wearing a Batman shirt?
He is, yeah, he is. It's like a yeah, not Batman in that, but like Batman in
Batman,
yeah, exactly,
Man Bat,
exactly.
whatever he might be. But
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
I just saw that. I was like, oh, I wonder how many Easter eggs there might be. We're gonna move forward, and where are we now?
Yeah, so the detective puts Haven in his office, pretty much. He's like, hey, like, stay here till things cool down, right? Because if Haven's spotted, unfortunately, that could stoke the flames of the protesters, right? So yeah, so he's put in the office, and then we see a bit more of the detective, or kind of who is the detective from Haven's eyes, right? So it goes into like, oh, like there's a bunch of missing enhanced posters, right? And he's like, he goes like, is he looking into the missing disappearances, or someone specific? And then it goes into like, to the best detective partner I've ever had, right? In the picture of the detective, his partner, and the partner's kid, right? But then the question is, where is the partner, right? Like, we haven't seen the partner yet, or there's been no mention of that. So what is that memento, right? And then that kind of last panel of kind of Haven being like, hey, like there's got to be something I can do, right? Like and that is that thing of with the handcuffs and everything. Obviously he could break out of those, I mean,
Yeah.
easily and kind of do what he wants, but it's this thing of like, I don't want to make anything worse, right? And I think that's what he's kind of grappling with in this scene.
So in comics, a lot of what I've been told when it comes to writing is, you really want to focus on action. You want to have something moving all the time. You don't want to have talking heads. Looking at this page, I see a bunch of standing around. I see a bunch of quiet. I don't see a bunch happening. But at the same time, when you actually look into the backgrounds of this page, like you said, I get to see the family. I get to see this detective is actually looking for the missing people. I get to see Haven himself feeling emotions about this, and I think the lighting, how the art was done with the lighting, is a fantastic choice. All of these things, like this is a really good page of a comic book. This is just something that when people say put action in, give them guns and make them talk while shooting, you show them this page and go, this is all the context we need. Like this shows so much backstory with one page. We're gonna move forward now and show what was his name, Inferno.
Yeah.
So we see Inferno, and I love the way the art is done, or the lettering is done here.
Yes.
What's happening in the page, though?
Yeah. Okay. So this is probably one of my favorite pages. I'm so excited. And this was this was one of the funnest to like create too. There's a couple of like my favorite pages, but like this was probably one of the funnest. Is I wanted to there is that sense of Inferno before, right? Him having, I gave you kind of like his ideology, right? In the beginning, and then I wanted to kind of play on the psyche, right? So in Inferno is hearing things. He's a broken, shattered person, and so here it says like that's why your parents died is like the first thing that like that like, and I wanted to be different lettering too. I talked to the letterer and we really like workshopped how to do it. I wanted like it to be like bigger in some places and smaller in others and stuff like that to really get this kind of like echoey feel with everything. And it just goes like heroes are too weak, you were too weak. And then we have, so this is the first sign of like corruption too, where this police officer, right, supposed to be guarding the dudes, but he's like, boss gave you a present, freak. And I love that in this page and in like the previous page with Haven, enhanced are called like freaks, right? They're made fun of, they're whatever. But even someone like, the idea of like boss gave you a present, right, or whatever, that he's like integral to this plot, but he's still talked down upon, right? To someone like so like minuscule, right? And then we just get more of his psyche, right? Like to grow stronger, there must be pain. Time for phase 2, alluding to, right, like that this was planned, and then show them true pain of this. Yeah.
Just to give a little more praise on the letter, that's why your parents died. That's the very top panel here. It is placed over top of his head, and it's one of those things when you're reading that that this is what he's thinking. It doesn't feel like he's talking or that someone's talking to him. You just know that these are the thoughts inside of his head now because it was placed that way. I love lettering. I love when I see things like that. Also, again, the way that your artist handles light is so good. The red scene completely changes how we just felt because the previous lighting scene was, more emotional, more thoughtful, and now it's red, it's cold, it's bad, and we have the shadow over the officer's eyes. Again, just villainous. You just feel it. It's just so good. But we drink the vial, and the vial changes him. Tell me more about this.
This is cool, right? So now we kind of get so he takes the vial, green eyes, you have this green liquid coming out, right? And we see the flames ignite, right? And the lettering goes like, he didn't say this would happen, feels like my blood is being boiled from the inside, it's hot, I can't stop. And then he starts laughing, right? And I wanted it to be this thing of the hero with all the powers, or like the villain with all the powers, and have that choice of activation, right? And almost trickery, right? Of like, he didn't know that this is what this thing would do to him, right? And yeah, and play that of like, all you can kind of really do at that point, being this kind of shattered, broken person, is laugh at the pain, right?
Mhm.
And then we get kind of that explosion there.
I'm going to talk about the power levels real quick. I'm going to ask you a question. Prior to
Yes.
this, how did they make him not be Inferno? How did they suppress his powers?
Yeah. So the cell itself has like enhanced dampening like tech in it, right?
Okay.
And that's not something we say like aloud or anything like that, but yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to really, but
Yeah.
I'm just curious what your behind the scenes thoughts are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a
So
tech for it. Go ahead.
so I wanted everything to kind of be emerging, right? Like these enhanced, yeah, they've been around for like say 10 years, right? But the like regulations, the like everything else, right, is still being like figured out, right? So it dampens, right, like him, but when his powers, he takes this, he gets that power up or whatever, it can't hold back the ability, right? I wanted the dampening the tech, even like this whole thing of like the citizens or the city like still figuring out, what I mean, like how to deal with enhanced and what that looks like and everything else, right? I wanted the tech to be like not perfect, right? It's not this like, you know thing where it stops all powers forever and kind of all this, right? Like people are still figuring this stuff out. Yeah, and then that's kind of what that showcases.
Okay, yes, that's how I was feeling. I was like, well, I know he's dampened now. I know that something's happened, but he's clearly this is double, triple, quadruple power level now from the prior
Yeah.
scenes. And let's talk about the cadence itself. You have the opening of this comic straight into action. You have the break into the detective scene. I don't even know how many pages we are. It doesn't feel like many, but we're already back in action again. It feels like a lot of
Mhm.
things have happened in these
Yes.
few pages.
Yeah.
Our next scene is we hear the explosions, and I guess Haven just couldn't help himself, broke himself out, and went on to
Yeah.
the action.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so the boom reverberates, right? And yeah, and Haven just speeds in. So this is something where I always want to characterize things, right?
Mhm.
So like the more that I can tell you about a character without like explicitly like saying it, right? So like Haven bursts in, that's his first thought process, right? He goes to where the explosion is, right? That's who he is as a hero. Um, and then the thought text above it from the detective, right, is like thinking, it's strategy, it's an investigatory, right? It's Inferno shouldn't have been able to get out of the cell, not without help. This doesn't feel right, it's weird, right? um to give you more of like the intuition, of the detective, right, that's coming in, right, and kind of show how these two characters are different, right? And it kind of ends on like the detective being like, hey, there's something wrong here, and then we get that kind of looming shot of Haven and Inferno.
Now there are only so many things a comic page can, so many pages of a comic you can have, and so many things you can do in those pages. You mentioned earlier about him being in handcuffs and how he didn't want to cause any more problems. We don't show him breaking out of the handcuffs. We don't show him
Mhm.
thinking about it. Is that anything that you would, hypothetically, if we were to ever change anything, go back, would you add
Mhm.
anything of the emotional side of him going, I shouldn't, but
Mhm.
I need to, or would you jump straight into the action? This isn't a trick question or saying, hey,
Mhm.
that's the better way to do it. It's just
Yeah.
how much of that matters when you're
Mhm.
writing these scripts.
Yeah, I think it's always important, right, to go into like the character's thought process on things and stuff like that. And I think like, but it is this balancing act, right? You have to balance the engagement of the audience, and what you're willing to give up, right, in a scene. And what I see a lot of the times, and kind of what you alluded to in the beginning of this, is is a lot of creators will you'll get to the action at the end of the book. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And you have a lot of that like thinking thought process and all this stuff that is cool for characterization, right? But you have to give your audience a reason to care about the characters, right? And so I 100% could have had a scene where Haven still grapples with that, right? But I think kind of the other scenes before this one kind of already allude to that. And while that characterization would be beneficial to the character of Haven and kind of give more of an insight into who he is, there's time for those scenes to come up and kind of arise there.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
think you made the right call. I just wanted to see kind of
yeah,
how you
100%.
might answer that. We have the Inferno. He is now Blue Flames, which everyone knows is hotter, right?
Yes, yeah.
One of the coolest things also about him, and he just immediately just guts this dude.
Yeah,
But we
yeah.
also have a bit of a flashback. What's going on?
Yeah, okay. So this is another one of my favorite pages of the book. Where yeah, you have Haven being impaled, and then you have the detective left to deal with Inferno. And what I wanted to allude to in this one is the detective isn't all that he appears to be either, right? That sometime in the past he wore a costume and dealt with stuff, right? Um, but still go into who is that guy holding up, right? From the detective's point of view, right? Like what is their relationship, like what's going on here? This whole I wanted the detective to have this whole past, right? That I just give you kind of like a glimpse of. And yeah, and detective yells at Sean, you won't get away with this. And then he's also going into like um who's going to stop me now from Inferno? And then the detective's like, that's the flaw with you enhanced. You think we'll just drop to our knees and beg. Kind of leading into the frame of mind that the detective has with enhanced, right? But then also like kind of is that flashback scene, that mentality as well.
So this is one of those pages where when we're talking about how much information a page of a comic book can actually give you, this does so much for me. I love that it's 3 panels, but really it's 2 panels, and you can just immediately get a relationship from multiple different characters and understand how the detective. What's his name again? I'm so sorry.
Detective
Brightly. So you immediately understand how he sees things, and it just throws you into his mindset. It's a fantastic page. It's a great looking page. We're going to go ahead and see what happens next from this, though. It's almost a full splash, and he's throwing some rings. We get to learn a little bit more about him. What's this?
Yeah, so that last page you get a glimpse of the detective being more than he was, but that was he's younger, right? That was long ago. And then I wanted this to be this kind of thing of you see Haven like messed up, right? And this powered up, right, Inferno. I wanted to kind of give a glimpse of, okay, I showed you that. Now he's in the he's a detective. It's later. He's in the police precinct, but he still has like these rings, right? These gadgets. And what's up with that, right? Like is a part of that still there for him? And he's freezing up in Inferno.
When deciding to do a full splash, what do you want to achieve in your full splash?
Yeah. A splash. So like that's the kind of thing where it's like, I mean, you want good looking pages, okay? If you're gonna do a splash, like I say, listen. All right, there are deeper things that you want a good looking page.
You want a good looking page.
That's just true, okay? This is true. Like there's something in our brains wired, the lizard part, where we see like a full page of art and we go, ooh, that's pretty. I like it.
Yeah.
But also technically you're able to kind of slow down the reader a bit and kind of showcase this moment in a big way, right? And so yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to do there.
So I assume him using whatever gadgets these are. I assume that that's
Mhm,
something he hasn't done in a long time, refuses
mhm.
to do. And so when I saw this, I was like, well, I assume it wants me to say he had to do it again, whatever this power, ability, or gadget is.
Mm.
Is that right? Is that wrong? Is that just a reader's?
So yeah, not so it is a thing of um he obviously doesn't use the gadgets all the time, but it is this thing of he does. There are instances, there are times where he does.
Okay,
This is less of like a um he doesn't do it all the time kind of thing, and more of like a um why does he have these things,
fair. Okay,
and it's almost like him not letting go of like a part of that like past scene, you know what I mean,
okay, okay.
where he's not, maybe he's not running around in like a suit and calling himself a name in the middle of the night and da da da, but he's holding on to this piece, or these pieces depending on if there's more gadgets, of what he was before.
That's interesting. I especially like the more gadgets answer. Now, these gadgets themselves
Mhm.
freeze Inferno?
Yes, yeah. So freeze him solid, threw a lot at him, and yeah, and so freezes him up. Um, but the detective knowing like that won't hold him for long. Like these aren't, what I mean, like he's not, out of the game. He's just maybe out of commission for now. And then we kind of go into Haven healing up, which is important because like I you don't really know what Haven can do, right? And I didn't want to do the Superman thing of like he's invincible and like can't be hurt or damaged, right? I wanted to kind of go a more regeneration route where he's still hurt, he's still damaged, he's still technically dead or whatever, right? Mortally wounded, but he does regenerate. It does take a bit of time, but yeah.
That's interesting. Talking about power level again, we talked about the dampening, we talked about how that stopped this. Inferno is able to be stopped by these gadgets. For me, I would go, okay, well, this is really strong, but at the same time, at the very bottom, and this is one of the coolest techniques I've ever seen, is that red and white
Yes.
cracking,
Yeah.
pop, pop, and I feel it. That scene moves for me when I look at it.
Yep.
This entirely the artist's decision, or did you have any kind of input on that? Because this is great.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, when I did this scene, I told the artist that yeah, obviously he freezes over, but that kind of at the end of the page that he would start breaking out, and the little squares, that emphasize that was completely him, which I
So good.
agree with you. Love the technique. It's such a good technique,
So
dude. It's
good. It's
insane.
like I just can't even recall a time I've seen that. So I'm stealing that. That is something it's in my repertoire
For
now.
sure, for sure.
Let's see. Here we go. We have the ice cracking again. Those red. Previously, it was the red
Mhm.
ones, and now it's
Yep.
these red long panels, and it's
Hmm.
so smart. It is such a smart way that he's color. It is the same colorist as artist.
Yeah, he does the art and
Oh,
colors. Yeah,
oh, what's his
it's
name?
yeah.
Say his name. Give him all the
Uh,
praise real quick, because this is just good.
uh, yeah, Leonardo Uden did the art, pencils and colors. He also did a trial with Marvel. So I mean,
He deserves to be there
yeah,
because again,
100%, 100%.
I'm going to talk about this page because this is such a good
Mhm,
page. The first panel is it's whiter. You get to see them. Things are kind of okay, and then you get the first crack. Then the panels start to shrink, and we get closer to the eyes, and that's another director style of like in a movie. You see this, and this is
mhm.
just so good, and it cracks. He's free almost immediately. We understand the power level isn't actually as high as we thought. But what in this page, when you wrote this page, what did you write versus what he did? Because I'm curious about that.
Yeah. So I said pretty much so. That scene before where we start to see the ice break. For this page, I was like, we see the detective helping Haven up, the
Hmm.
ice seeming to break. Kind of a close up shot of Haven as the detective is speaking. Ice continues to break, and then that kind of final close up, and then the full kind of like breakout, right?
Okay, so it's pretty much about the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that
100%. But
solid.
it's this thing of like, if you, and this is kind of what I talked about before. If I were to say, hey, panel by panel, this is what I want, right? And I go panel 1 this, panel 2 that, the layout could be different, right? Like the way he
Yeah.
interprets it, right, could be different. And that's why when I just lay out the action on the page, you just leave room by not doing that layout. You leave room for them to interpret what that might look like, right? And then you can kind of adjust when you're doing like the rough, layout pages and stuff. But yeah, really happy.
Fantastic. I believe there's not too much to say on this page. It is strictly an action page for me. Any other notes you want to give for this one?
This page plays into the whole thing of not holding back, right? Like,
okay.
So the detective goes like, he'll kill like everyone here, like they're, what I mean, like, and he's like, there can be no half measures here, right? And Haven kind of goes like, I know what I have to do, right? Seemingly being like, hey, I got this.
Yeah, we're about to have to snap his neck or something. Straight into more action. We have both of them working together. We know this from the panel in the middle. Tell me what happens.
Yeah. So Haven, right, burst flies off, right? We get that kind of interaction. We do get the panel in the middle of the ice, and we do see Haven and the detective working together. Now, when I do fights, like I said, I want the emotional beats. I want this. Haven and the detective, their ideologies have been opposed, right? Kind of this whole book, and this through action, through them fighting together, we see them kind of come together like this, which is cool.
I also, at the end, we have Haven still saying to stop. He knew prior in the panel before, I know what I have to do, but you have a character who is not wanting to injure and hurt anyone so far, even when he understands what he has to do. Let's go ahead and see the next panel here.
Yeah, so crazy shot Inferno takes, right? The whole thing like, then I'll make you do it, right? Bleeds into his ideology. We really get this kind of like suspense-filled scene of Inferno going at him, and he's just like, no one else dies today, and takes the hit for the detective.
When it comes to your action scenes, when you're writing these, how much give and take is needed for the villain and the hero? How many times does the hero need to have a one-up on the villain when you write these?
That's a good question. It depends, right? It depends on the hero. It depends on the situation. I think for this fight, right? Like I think what you're trying to like tell the audience is Haven isn't fully like confident in what he even has to do, right? He's even though he's saying like, I know what I have to do, and he's like that, he still tells him to stop, right? He still, even after if Haven didn't step in, the detective would have got right impaled, and he's still like, a no one else dies today, right? He is resolute in what he wants to do, but is unconfident with what he has to do.
That's a good answer.
Yeah,
I like that. Let's see here then. So we understand that, and we had to make a decision.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, he really goes like, I wish there was something that I could say to make you stop, and then he goes, but I know there isn't, and chokes him out, and still after all that doesn't end him, doesn't kill him, right? And he just goes, don't get up, just fucking stay down. And Inferno is like, you're weak, finish it, right? Like you're again still with the half measures, right? And even the villain is cognizant of like, you can't always be taking half measures. And yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I didn't actually realize he wasn't killed until you mentioned that. I saw the bubble at the end because I was like, well, he did this.
Yes.
When it comes to ending a villain, is that what the story is going to be about? Is Haven finally having to kill someone for the first time? Because this is a lot to go through to just not kill someone.
Yeah, 100%. So what I want, the way I framed this story when I first started is I wanted to see what would happen if you took someone like a Superman like character, right? This I don't want to kill, I don't want to hurt. You pulls your punches, right, and then play off that idea of, but is holding back, is that always good, right? And like, what are the consequences that come with that? And we see that throughout this issue, and then have this thing be how far can Haven go of protecting the city, but how far can the city go to push Haven? This kind of crime filled, like not Gotham-esque, but you know what I mean, like this like very like on the brink city, and how far can it go of its kind of like hatred and whatever to push him. So it's really kind of this battle of Haven's hope for what he wants to be and what he wants to do, and then you kind of the realities of the world and the city and the citizens and the villains that he faces.
We're finding that breaking point. We have a more calm shot. We finally brought the action down again. We have that roller coaster that started at the start. It's come up, it's come down, it's come up, it's come down. We're at the down part. What is this page telling me? What is it supposed to be doing?
So this is, we've seen Haven fight, we've seen the detective fight, we've seen them fight together. This is kind of like that scene of like Haven can take no more, and the detective, they've kind of been at odds a bit this issue, but really this is the thing where he embraces him literally to get him to the car, and he's saying like, hey, you got everybody out, let's get you somewhere safe now, right? While also kind of being this kind of symbolic thing of like the detective realizing past the differing ideologies, that Haven really like is like a good, right, and kind of like accepting that.
Yes, sir. And we're going to move forward a little bit more and see. This was one of my favorite shots on the page, because we're bringing back the gentleman who's been killed, right?
Yes.
Tell me more about this one as well.
Yeah, so that flashback scene, I just don't do it because it looks good. Although it doesn't look good.
It looks good.
It looks good. With this scene, I wanted to get more of the detective, right? Because you're really playing off like what are you giving the audience, right? And at all times, I kind of want to give the audience bits, especially if I'm going to start it in the middle, right? And that is like a thing of like you choose action, right? But then you have to give pieces of who these characters are to the audience, for them to care, right, about the conflict, about the fights, about everything, right? So he goes, it always starts with a feeling of vertigo. At first nothing, but then it hits all at once, and we see that shot of this kind of decaying man who is supposed to be a older version of the person we saw in the flashback.
Does he have a name?
So Sean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have that. And then what is being said at the very end here? What's the thought process?
So you're going to let him end up like me. And pretty much, speaking to just how kind of damaged the detective is.
And we're going to move forward because this is a little bit more of it. If you can, go ahead and read all of this for me, because I'd like to know what he's saying.
Yeah, 100%. So the detective says, Sean says, it's fitting, really. And the detective right away is like, stop it. Sean goes, you know what happens when you get close to people. Look at me, look at what you did, and then they'll all meet the same fate. As he like decays further, and kind of like wisps away, right? And then you have Haven in the back, healed, right? Like the injury on his arm healed, not fully, but and he's like, who are you talking to, right? Like what is that? Cluing into the audience of like, hey, this is in his head, right? And then he's just like, hey, don't worry about it, let's get you somewhere safe.
So talking about writing real quick, talking about talking heads themselves in a comic book page, they're boring, they're awful. You don't want to do them. One of the artists I worked with one time said, if I can make a page of talking heads interesting, then I've done my job. This here is not boring, right? This is technically, it's just a bunch of close-up shots of the face, but there's so much that you did, and it gave you so much more context and some more thoughts about how Brightly thinks and how Brightly sees things. It did a wonderful job. This is just a killer page. And it's just the face. It's the face disappearing. I love that about it. Let's see our next page. This is actually the last page. I didn't even realize. Tell me more.
Yeah. So after that, I really wanted it to end on a nice scene, right? And I wanted. I ran through all this chaos of everything, the action, the highs, the lows. I wanted to end on a nice scene of the detective coming home, right, to his kid. And in the middle panel, we see like a click of like a camera, and we don't really know what that's about. That's a little mystery piece that we kind of throw in there. But really to tie it back to these normal everyday people that don't have these powers. This was his day. This was his night. This is what he went through, and all to come home to his kid, right? And have that peace be there for people without powers. Of hey, all this crazy stuff is going on, and all I want to do at the end of the day is make it home to my family.
Yeah. No, it was a wonderful comic. I want to talk real quick about the click. Another situation I see in comics. Sometimes they get a villain and they want to overwrite that villain. They want to overwrite these plot points. They want to tell you so much. But in this book, you have two shots that explain a big overarching villain. You have the officer giving the vial and his little context, and then you have the click. And that's it in 22 pages. And I know now that there's something else happening. I get to learn more about it later. I don't need it now. I got all the action at the start. This was a good comic. Like, just in general, this is one of those when I read it, I said, this is just good. There's nothing I can really say about it. So this was a lot of fun. When it comes to the Haven universe, where do you want to take this in the future?
Yeah. So Haven issue 2 is already done. So that's cool.
So that's cool. So nonchalant about it. That's cool.
So right now the city that we're building out has Haven Sketch Night, and then those are like our ongoing series. And actually issue 2 for both of those are done. But then we also have 2 one-shots coming out. One's coming out probably beginning of next month. It's with Travis Gibb, who wrote it. And it's one shot called Kodiak, and it's very, very cool. And we have a one shot with Sean Wood, and it is also very, very cool. But I wanted those one shots to be there to build out more of the city, and it's kind of like side stories, but it's really to answer a question of like, where were, whenever you do like a city or like a bunch of like heroes or villains all in one place. The question then becomes like, where was Spider-Man when Daredevil Born Again was going on? You know what I mean? Like, which is mad fair, right? And so I want these one shots to kind of answer that question of, the heroes are busy doing other things. This is what's going on in like District 2 of the city, and let Travis and Sean play around in that.
I can't wait to see more. Mr. Brayden Viloria, where can people find you on the internet?
RickCity.com. If you want to buy the books, hey, heck yeah, we do that. Hey. And I like money. Also on all social medias, Rick City Comics on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you coming on, and you have yourself a wonderful night.
You too.
Bait for the bait throw. Trash for the trash throw. Welcome to my emotional Thunderdome. I am creative, nothing less.